fall. And, you know, with Robert, we have to start trying to, you know, transfer other vehicles to the, and, yeah, so. Yeah, that's all I got.
We were trying to go every day.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're from there, but there, and
We do all of those together. Selection on the.
So is the village engineer here in person or will be a proxy?
Get to go help.
I left his comments for you.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't
I didn't make copies for him. I wasn't sure.
use via paper proxy.
Okay, yeah. Did you? Right,
He emailed them, but it was kind of later this
I
afternoon.
did not. Oh, be my guest.
Are you bringing us a report on Washington DC?
Yes, I am. Is the meeting?
Thank you.
No,
Okay.
No, you're fine.
so you're not obligated to
No, we have,
respond.
we have to
yet.
wait at the end of the night. So
Good,
it's
good.
about
Perfect.
11:30 when you're on.
So you can sit back and relax.
After all the renewal of alcohol permits.
Yeah, just wake me up when it's my turn.
Yeah, you're not on the clock, are you?
Yeah.
No. No, I didn't blame it on the extension.
Well, so, no, they decided.
Is that for this meeting?
That is the link to the meeting that's active. So if anyone texts you or emails you and asks you why that link isn't working, that's the one. And I sent it to myself too, so I could try it from my phone.
Did you say we are recording already?
We are, yes. So you're good to go whenever you're ready.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Village of Lannon monthly board meeting to order for Monday, June 8th, 2026 at 7 p.m. You'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, remove any headgear.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call is Batiste,
Present.
Grenier,
Here.
Lake,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Summers,
Here.
Willard,
Here.
and Yates is present. All present. Statement of public notice.
Been posted.
Thank you. Discussion and possible action on the reading correction and approval of the minutes from the 5/11/26 village board meeting. Did anyone have anything to add or change on these?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from 5/11/2026 of the board meeting.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as presented by the clerk. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports, finance and personnel.
We'll cover under number 23.
Thank you. Legislative.
Okay, it was noted in last month's meeting that we need to update some ordinances specific to bicycles, e-bikes, and other e-type vehicles. I'm working on it, and when hopefully in the near future, when I'm ready, I'll discuss it with the chief, get his thoughts. And then we'll have a schedule a legislative committee meeting, after which, if it's agreed to, it'll be presented to Hector to do his massaging, and then brought to the board, so.
The other thing I can add to that is there was a Waukesha Freeman copy that was put in everybody's mailbox as a sample. And if you read it, I believe Hartford and Heartland are at the e-bike situation for their respective villages. So it's a good article to read.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Parks and Recreation Beautification.
Yes, we did have, communication with the Community Improvement Committee. We've got a good list of people. Again, if anybody's interested in either being a community volunteer or being on the Community Improvement Committee, please reach out to, C Lake at villageoflannon.com. We had our village rummage sale in May, which was successful. We have a tree planted at, at Sunnyside Cemetery that was purchased by Patrick Yates and the village. And it is the Liberty Tree, which is to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. There is going to be an official dedication of that tree and plaque on June 27th at 10 a.m. at the cemetery. So we'd like to have as much of the community turn out for that. And thanks to Fast Signs for getting up the Memorial Day flags and the 250th anniversary banners.
Okay, thank you. Public Safety,
Nothing at this time.
Public Works, Recycling, Sewer.
So the quick update on the SCADA project, they're still working on some of the communication fine tuning. Should be getting close to the end on that. There is a pay application in the agenda as part of that project. They did get the old generator removed. They did the seeding and restoration around the new generator. We do need to follow up with that at some point in time about some screening around that generator in the, I guess, months ahead. From a water standpoint, Mid-City did find that there was a fire hydrant out at Rock Point Apartments that needed to be repaired. They worked all day on the repairs. And I guess that repair was successful. In regards to Good Hope Road, we had the crews out there today doing the first half of the pothole repairs. This morning, the weather got to them. They had to pull their crew off and go elsewhere. So they will be back to finish the patching on the west side of the bug line, as well as some new potholes that are in the eastbound lanes on the east side of the bug line. Jake's Park, the bike path restoration project, or the bike path creation project began and kicked off last week. They started the excavation and stone for that last week. They are supposed to get that near completion this week with substantial completion for that path in the following week. The Bonnie Lane Road reconstruction, they're scheduled to start that in August. Tentatively start construction the week of August 10th, with completion or substantial completion projected to be the week of October 12th if all goes well. Becker Drive, there's some discussion about street repairs, pothole repairs. That's on the agenda this evening to discuss. And I think that covers everything.
That's it.
You want more?
Thank you, Dan. Corey.
No news at this time.
Great, thank you, Don. Department reports, Clerk's Office.
Just working on the licenses that will be approved, at this meeting. Election preparations do start at the end of this month as well for the August election. And utility bills at the end of the month as well.
Utility billing's going pretty smooth now, it seems like.
Yes, it's a lot better.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Police department.
Monthly report has been given out to you guys and posted. Just a couple of safety reminders that school is letting out. Reminder to be aware of the children out playing around and families doing summer activities. As well as a reminder that stop signs are not to be run just because you live in that neighborhood. You must stop at those. So we've been seeing a little bit of that. So just wanted to remind everybody to be safe and keep land in a safe place. Working on a interoperable radio grant. It's coming to attrition here. Be purchasing those before you know it. We are sending it out for legal review just to make sure everything's on the up and up and that we can adhere to the rules about it. And then we just want to welcome back Sergeant Nate Schweitzer. He was acting chief last week, did a great job. So I'll turn the floor over to you.
Okay. I just have a quick 5 minutes, I swear, I'll keep it 5, I'll set a timer. But I just wanted to share with everybody. You know, well, I guess what land on a national stage. Which probably isn't very frequent.
And police work never stops. I gotta go help Jenna go to the rest real quick. Right back.
Just real quick, there's not a lot of slides, but obviously, as you know, we sent the Landon Motor and myself to National Police Week. If you hit the next slide, so should probably quicker. Just kind of the numbers that we did. Basically, there's around 300 motors at National Police Week from around the country. They provide escorts to dignitaries, law enforcement supervisors, but most importantly, survivors and families of those who have fallen. Wisconsin had 2 names added this year, so it was really important for Wisconsin to be there. Way before I ever went, Wisconsin has quite the status out there. They are well known in DC by the Parks Police, by the Secret Service as being a good operation. So I had a lot of stress making sure I didn't screw that up. But it 5 days of escorts, we did 18 total escorts of hundreds and hundreds of people and kids. I clocked over 350 miles on the bike of just escorts. We had 8 agencies from Wisconsin. Landon, Green Bay, Milwaukee, Fitchburg, Madison, Racine, Dane, and Racine County. Racine and Racine County had an officer that went on the wall, and obviously Milwaukee had an officer that went on the wall. So something I didn't think about before I went is the people that are there are also knew these people personally, and it was really, really important for them. So it was good to be part of that. We had 28 motors from Wisconsin. I'm pretty either the number 1 or number 2 state for sending the most motors of any state. And then we had 250 to 300 motors there the whole time. Next, if you could. Day 1 and 2, there's just some pictures. They're all on Facebook too if you've been looking at it, but you can skip to the next one. Day 1 and 2, basically, we set up at the airports, and then anytime a surviving family comes in, they get on buses, and then we escort them to their hotels. Secret Service pretty much escorts. Secret Service, Park Police, Capitol Police, all the federal agencies will lead the escorts. We're kind of a commemorative thing. But we basically escort all these families, you know, where I'm sure scared and have a lot going on, and we just try to provide them that peace of mind to get them to their hotels. Wisconsin had 20 people, they let us all ride together. So we pretty much did multiple escorts a day. Those were 14-hour days. We would line up at 5:30 in the morning for safety briefings, and I didn't think I got to bed until 9 o'clock on the first night. And it rained all day, but it was an honor to be there, and it was, you know, really important. We can hit the next one. 1 and 2, day 3 was a candlelight vigil. There's one photo of it there. I kind of realized as the motor, you're really working the whole time. I hardly got to participate in any of the events because we were actually working, which was fine. It was an honor to be able to do that, to get people to these events and get them safely. That was our job. they chose our unit specifically to do one entire hotel, so most officers just did one big escort. We did the Omni Hotel, we did like 5 or 6 escorts that day. So again, they chose Wisconsin because they're there so often and they're just a professional group. The bike had one little hiccup one day. It was an electrical thing. That's kind of a ghost issue with some Harleys, and the Secret Service gave me an escort all the way back to town, just myself, so. They were super helpful. They said they don't go anywhere traffic, they just make a path. Interesting. Day 4, all the cops' kids, the children of fallen officers, they get to go to the Fairfax Academy where they have rock climbing and so they can forget about everything going on and just enjoy themselves. That was a long escort. That was probably 45 minutes out to Fairfax and back. And then we got a little bit of time that afternoon. So I actually wore this, I think the same thing. It's the only polo I have for this place, but I wore this to the White House. So they had it kind of set up for Police Week. They had all their federal stuff, like drone vehicles, bomb vehicles. They had all that out for police. So we kind of chit chat with them, and we got kind of a special tour of the White House. Secret Service also allowed us to go right in front of the White House for a photo op, so that was pretty cool. They were really wonderful hosts for us. Day 5 was the National Peace Officer Memorial Service, so we escort like 35 buses down there, and that's kind of the big service that they have. Again, I didn't go to it at all. I just escorted people there. But one of the things we did, if you want to hit the next slide, is we went to the National Law Enforcement Memorial, which is where names are actually enshrined in the stone. And that was really emotional. All these Milwaukee officers knew the officers that passed this last year, Kennel Porter, plus other officers. I used to work with an officer in Hayward who's on the wall. I've never got to see his name on the wall, so that was. I didn't even know we were going there. I'm like, I was just a rider on the single unit. So I'm like, what are we doing? And they're like, we're gonna go to the memorial. And I was like, oh, okay. And then that was a big day. But I thought it was really nice to have Landon there for the Brotherhood and to just represent and be part of that. And it was really important for some of the other families. Some of the parents of Joshua LaForge were on the Racine bike. They have a memorial for him on the back of the bike, and they were sitting on the bike right in front of me. And to see the families seeing that and how much it means to them totally made it worth everything for me. I just want to thank too some of the things that's not in all the pictures, but the Badger Motor Association, who I am a member of, and our other motor officer Nate, and everyone in the state, I think they pretty much host a tailgate every night, which helps cut down on costs. They get a lot of food donated. Lannon, I donated all the water, so we had 30 cases of water, but everyone kind of donates their little piece of it. And they have it open to anyone in true Midwest tailgate fashion. So we had officers from England, other Canada, every state. They would just hang out all night, kind of chit chat, talk about policing, talk about motors, talk about nothing. It was kind of nice to decompress. One of the neighbors, evidently, we have the same parking lot every night, and they have for 20 years. He lives on the top, so he brings us all up to his high rise and lets us kind of look at the city and everything. That was super nice. So it was really nice. And I just want to thank everybody, which is a big slide, but I want to thank M&D Auto Sales and the Milwaukee Motor Association. Though they donated a lot to help offset. I was going to pay for it myself. But Patrick Yates and the chief heard about it and said, well, let's try to do some fundraising. And I'm really appreciative of that because that helped offset my costs a lot. It was probably about $2,000 total. And we were able to raise $1,500 in donations. So that was a huge help. And I also want to thank House of Harley and Hall Bikes. They bring the bikes out there and back for free for all the motors, 28 bikes. And then we get food donated by Super Seer, who buys that's where we get our helmets from, Setcom, who's our radio communications, PVP, who's their competitor. COPS programs, Concerns of Police Survivors. They gave breakfast every day. They had, it was kind of a nice spread. There's a lot of people that were volunteering. And then I really want to thank the Officer Association and all the other agencies too. They were super nice. I've never been out there. They told me what to do. They told me where to go. They were super friendly. They were very courteous and very professional. And then this is just kind of why we're out there. The COPS organization wrote on our Facebook page thanking us specifically for being out there. The video through the tunnel there, that's what the families see when they're going to their hotel. And that's Wisconsin agencies transporting Wisconsin families to their hotel. So even though they're somewhere new, somewhere scary, doing something probably terrifying and emotional, they know that there's a little bit of home getting them there and stuff like that. And then the bottom left post is the gentleman that runs the whole motor program in DC for this, and he specifically thanked Wisconsin and the Badger Motors Association. I guess for their professionalism out there, so. Landon was a part of something really cool, and we have a really good reputation, and I'm glad that Landon was part of that. And then there's a video on our Facebook page, we don't need to watch it here, I guess, but
Oh, yes.
okay. There's a video that really shows kind of this, if you'd asked me 3 years ago if I'd be doing a motor escort down the bridge in DC, I would have never ever believed you, but this is just all day escorts taking people to the hotel, coming back from the hotel. This was a video from a Milwaukee survivor that took this video. So the Wisconsin contingent is on the right. And they said, we're gonna use this for training, because that is a perfect lane change right there. I mean, we trained for that, so.
Yeah.
That was kind of the whole week, just doing a lot of this. And it was a really incredible time, and I appreciate you guys allowing me to go and represent the village.
Thanks for doing that, Nate.
It was great.
For representing us so well and for sharing this report with us as well.
And I try to share everything on Facebook so that the residents were kind
Yeah,
of part of it. I wanted people to know that they were part of it, represented.
Yeah, no, that was awesome how you were kind of giving updates each day, and it was nice to watch. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Some people may not understand what an honor this was. I have quite a large circle, family and friends that are officers. You are the first one who's been to Washington to represent us. This is something I think is very important for our village. This is the first time you've gone, this is the first time somebody from Landon's gone. And if you look at the rest of the communities, we're 2,000 people. Look at what the rest of them are. So I think this was a great thing to do. And if you ever have the opportunity again, I hope you bring up the fundraising earlier, because I think this village can do a better job of taking care of our police force.
Well, not to get ahead of you, but expect that. I'm greasing the wheels already.
That was next question, but again, thank you. This is an honor, not only for Nate, for Chief, but for our community. Of 2,000 people, I think Fitchburg is the next smallest community. So I think you guys did a hell of a job for our community and our state. And I think this is something, if possible, I for one will do everything I can to support this.
Is
Thank
this
you.
annual?
It's every year, and Milwaukee's, I know Dane County and Milwaukee are the two big players that have the real tradition. They're obviously probably some of the largest motor agencies. They have it nailed down, but some of those guys are retiring, and they're trying to get the younger people in to kind of make sure this tradition continues. So I don't know if I have the funding to do this, but I would definitely like to help out in any way I can. And it is every year.
It's an annual event.
It's an annual event, and they've been doing it. I mean, they've got it like a well-oiled machine.
Sounds like it.
So now that I'm aware of it and I've kind of done it again, I think hopefully I know what I'm looking at in the future and the parameters. Lodging was the most expensive. If you can share a hotel room, that would cut it in half. So I think some planning in the future, there's ways to do a little better, but it was great.
I was there last year and it's extremely humbling, and it's an honor to be able to do that. And Wisconsin is looked at as the leading motor group. As soon as they get out there, they have plans for them. They lead everything. They're the first to get there and they're the last to leave, and that's the way it just is, so.
Do we have a date for next year?
This week,
yeah.
May, it'll be May, early mid-May.
I have to check the day. There's a law enforcement day, and then whatever week that is, that's when they do it, so I'd have to check, but it's.
So at least we would have a date to work towards.
Yeah, it's every May. We can look into that, but. Yeah, it'd be great. I've talked to all kinds of other agencies and they were impressed that a village this small. With this few officers was able to be out there and, do everything that they were doing and, in some cases better.
Excellent.
Again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nate.
Thank you again for the support.
All right, item number 8, response to previous citizens' comments, which there were none. Item number 9, citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments, George or Jerry? No?
I would bring up dead trees.
Dead trees.
Yeah, yes, we got some pretty hazardous ones, particularly on Good Hope.
All right. Item number 10. Discussion and possible action regarding a request from the Village of Lisbon on behalf of AMHC to consider water service to Willow Springs. Mr. Wood was not able to attend tonight due to some other obligations in another community. He did provide some comments for us. I'll just read his comments in regards to this. Little background information. If you'll recall, when we did the water expansion project, there were some last minute discussions with the Village of Lisbon and their previous administrator, Kathy, about the possible stub to provide potential connection for Willow Springs mobile home community in the future. Unfortunately, all the engineering and construction progress and everything was a little too far along. The part was well down the road by the time that request came, and it just was not feasible to try to interrupt everything and change midstream. So we pressed forward with the original plans. They do still have a need though. Ben's comments are Willow Springs has a private water supply that has PFAS contamination above the proposed DNR EPA thresholds. Lisbon reached out to me regarding my overall thoughts, as Lisbon has periodically over the years regarding service feasibility from Lannon. I suggested to Lisbon that Lannon could treat the inquiry similar to a developer request with a professional service fee reimbursement agreement. Lisbon first asked AMC, owner of Willow Springs, to execute said agreement with the Village of Lisbon. Then Lisbon would execute a similar agreement with Lannon. Strand would plan to review the feasibility on behalf of Lannon and report back to Lisbon regarding capacity, availability, or limitations, construction costs, connection fees, approximate rates, and timing. Lisbon and AMC understand that Lannon is in a tricky situation until a third source can be added to Lannon's system. A very high-level review indicates that it may be easier for Willow Springs to have a connection constructed from Lannon rather than boring under the railroad tracks to the south to connect to the Sussex system. So I think, then I think we also had a, you had a resolution in here too, right?
I don't think.
Or no, a letter, I'm sorry.
Yeah, how about it?
Yeah, there's the letter that you also have in your packet. Kind of goes into a little more detail. So I don't know that we necessarily need any action right now. Yeah, looks like right now there's just a lot of due diligence that needs to be done, but
Do you know what the status is with hooking up to Sussex, where we stand with that? I know there was a discussion, but.
yeah, that is still moving along, but slowly. That kind of got delayed when their engineer retired. So now the new engineer is up to speed. I've been prompting Ben to reinitiate that. There are some upcoming, I think, plans to have some further discussions. Initiate some work by Trilogy, who is a consultant that we used for, determine the reserve capacity assessment and to look at, the reasonableness of what we assume is the proposed ask or cost share for the well. Also to try to determine, what we might anticipate a wholesale rate to be from them. So there's a few steps that have been initiated. Trilogy cannot really, they're finishing up a bunch of PSC reports that are due and things of that nature. So it's probably going to be July before they can really start working on it and have something to us by August.
Yeah, I guess. My feelings are, I'm not sure that we can do this until we have an answer from Sussex, a third source.
Yeah, there's some details to be worked out for us to make a decision. Yeah. Yeah, so
No.
we'll need to see those.
Okay, not that I'm opposed to this, but just a question. Doesn't Menominee Falls have municipal water right across Highway F?
Yeah, we cannot connect to Menominee Falls. We explored that.
No, I'm not saying us.
Oh,
I'm saying
Willow
Willow
Springs.
Springs.
yes, they do. But for the same reason, they're not gonna be allowed to connect either. Menominee Falls is bound to the Great Lakes Compact, which is a very complicated agreement between a bunch of different states and Canada. And there are very strict rules about water that can come in Great Lake Basin. And Menominee Falls is able to access that, but it gets tricky for them because they also have part of their system on the other side of the subcontinental divide. And they also have, to further complicate it, a mixed system where they get groundwater and surface water. So they have some wells of their own where they pull water from, and they also pull water from Milwaukee, which comes from Lake Michigan. So,
Oh, okay, that's fine, but
I don't think that there's any scenario where Menominee Falls would be allowed to provide water for them. In fact, I believe the only people that they were in their original Great Lakes compact agreement, the only municipality that was even contemplated as possibly being allowed is the Village of Land. And that has since evaporated. So I think they're pretty much a closed system.
If the village moves forward with this, do we have the ability to service another 331 connections?
So that's part of the due diligence we'll have to do, is to determine if we have the capacity ourselves to take that on. Now, I will say that when we have issues like that leaking hydrant over there that we're trying to chase down, that would have been an issue. Because we were losing about 100 gallons per minute out of that leak. So it was significant. And then when they hit the water lateral up here, when T-Mobile hit the water lateral, that was drawing pretty hard on our reservoir. And Sarah was literally on her phone, kind of manipulating the pumps at each of the wells to make sure that we kind of maintained a safe level in the reservoir. I mean, it wasn't in a critical situation. It got down to it was still above 80 inches in the reservoir. It normally operates at about 100 to 105 inches. So it's not like we were down to the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. But it was putting a lot of pressure on the system. with a big leak and then a broken lateral. That was like a 6-inch lateral, so. Pretty significant. So that is certainly something that has to be considered. So if there's no other questions on that, I will, you do have some comments, okay?
I think that the village should look into the issue also as it explores the ramifications here as to the obligations that the village has vis-a-vis these new prospective users. In other words, can the village legitimately cut off or disconnect these contract users once they've been accepted into the system? The PFC has a strong history of insisting that all users be treated the same, whether it's the water rate or the quality of the water. So that's a dimension that I think should be taken into account. Additionally, the letter that was sent by the gentleman representing the management company, I apologize, I left my copy back at my office. It doesn't identify who he is really, what his authority is. And he said something to the effect that in the last paragraph at the beginning, we are agreeable to entering into a retainer agreement with the Village of Lisbon to cover the estimated $5,000 cost from your consulting engineers to plan a connection solution from the village of Lannon's closest lateral to our water system. I think that we should tailor our agreement to make sure that they make a deposit up front, and that the $5,000 is an estimate, and that they should maintain a certain minimum retainer. And I say this based on the experience that we had with the operator of the other manufactured pipes here. And there should be a clarification, just by asking for it doesn't entitle them to this. The tone of it is, and they make reference to the fact that connection to Sussex is an option, but it's too pricey for them. And again, I think that further discussion is necessary in that regard.
Just for context, the connection to Sussex would involve heading south on Town Line Road and directional drilling under the railroad tracks and everything, permitting and all that stuff. The railroad is notoriously arduous and expensive, so. Yeah. But that is something that I assume they're also exploring. But, you know, if we can handle the capacity and we can come up with an agreeable set of terms, of course, it would be good for the water system. The revenue would be certainly welcome.
That would help bring down the rates for our ratepayers, correct?
Theoretically, yeah, when we do the next rate case, you know, the more users you have to share that cost. So all your O&M is more or less fixed at this point, right? So the more users you have, you're amortizing that across more people. So should help to bring down rates. Unless something else affects it.
Yeah, and that's high density, 331 lots. And,
Yeah.
And when you think about it, the houses served on Town Line where I live, it's just a really short distance to the backside of Willow.
So the other thing to keep in mind is it may not actually end up being 331 new bills necessarily. It might if it goes forward, or there might be discussions about structuring it similar to what we do with land and estates, and that is a single bill to the management company who then subsequently bills the residents. I'm not sure how that'll all go down, but it's unfortunate that I don't, if there's a way to do it differently, that would be great if we could, so that we could help try to protect those residents in there, so they don't face the same fate that what's happening down at Land and Estates, where the management company basically gets to charge whatever they want for water. They get no PSC protection.
Yeah. Sounds like a legislative thing.
So do we need to do anything to take action on this, or is this something that we're just kind of working with Strand to determine what
Yeah,
the capacity would be?
yeah, it'll be a Strand trilogy. Ellers will probably get pulled in at some point. You know, it wouldn't be a huge project, because we do have the lateral or the mains right over there, running around that northeast corner of the roundabout and uptown line. But yeah, so there's some things to figure out yet. I think he's simply trying to get out ahead of this and keep everybody in the loop.
So we will move forward with the feasibility assessment and then come back to the village board with the findings.
Before any agreement gets entered into or decision gets made, I imagine this will go on for several months at a minimum. Any other comments or questions on that item?
Do we need to have Brenda send an invoice over to them?
So I think I think Hector provides some prudent advice there. Our agreement will be between us and the Village of Lisbon. So that will be, I don't know if we'll need to do a new intermunicipal agreement and then a professional services agreement with Lisbon. But we should make sure that all of those distinctions and clarifications that council has brought up are clearly communicated to them in whatever agreement gets drafted. So I think just make sure that we're keeping council in the loop when and if we get anything from Lisbon. Is that agreeable to you, Hector?
Oh, yes.
So do you feel we need to table this till we get further information?
It just says possible action. Yeah, I don't know that we need to take any action on this one, to be
So
honest.
just table it?
Yeah, we can just, if there's a new item in the future, we can re-agendize it.
Do you want a motion as such? I'll
Sure.
make a motion that we table, the request from the Village of Lisbon on behalf of AMHC to consider water service to Willow Springs through the Lannon, water service.
I will second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
We should probably have some kind of timeline for tabling. As far as when would we want to revisit this? Within 3 months?
Sure.
I'll revise that motion to add on 3 months. That we revisited in 3 months.
Amended.
One,
Yep.
one thing that has occurred, even though this problem has persisted there for quite some time. There's also been a logjam situation at the state legislative level. And just very recently, the state has allocated money for PFAS treatment correction.
And I think that the discussions with Lisbon should entail encouraging them to explore what eligibility they have to help their 600 residents that live in this particular complex. I think it might make it more economical for everyone.
Good advice. Any other comments on the amended motion and amended second? All in favor to table? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, discussion and possible action on used auto dealer licenses for the period of July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027. We have Schlafer Auto Body, Alan and Debbie Schlafer, 20691 West Main Street. Landon Motors, Marat Solomonov, 20365 West Main Street. Bogie Enterprises, Inc., David Bogie, 19750 West Edgewood Drive, and Luxury Auto Muhammad Khalid, 20200 West Main Street.
I make a motion to approve the used auto dealer licenses for the period of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027 for those listed under agenda item number 11.
I will second.
We have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? Looks like they've all paid already too. Good.
Right.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 12, discussion and possible action on the approval of combination Class B retail licenses for the period July 1, 2026, June 30, 2027 to the following. Scott Burkholz of Daubers, 20202 West Good Hope Road, Robert McDonald of Mibs and Bibs, 7300 North Landon Road, Christopher and Sarah Wright of 1229, 19967 West Main Street, Justin Kale of Just Smoke and Barbecue, 20316 West Main Street, Gerald Anderson and Greg Fisher of McDugout, 7273 North Landon Road.
I make a motion to approve the combination Class B retail licenses for the period of July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027 for the 5 applications listed under agenda item number 12.
I will second.
And we have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, discussion and possible action on the approval of combination Class A retail license for the period of July 1st, 2026 to June 30, 2027 to the following. Narendra Patel of Landon BP, 20093 West Main Street. Justin Kapusta of A&J Liquor, 20316 West Main Street.
I will forward a motion to approve the application or the combination Class A and Class A retail licenses for the period of July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027 for those 2 businesses listed under agenda item number 13.
I will second.
We have a motion, a second. Any other discussion?
I abstain.
All in favor? Any opposed? One abstention. Item number 14, discussion and possible action on the approval of Class B licenses for the period July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027 to the following. Milwaukee Beavers baseball team at Jakes Park, Landon Road.
I make a motion that we approve the Class B license for period of July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027 for the Milwaukee Beavers baseball team at Jakes Park.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 15, discussion and possible action on the approval of non-alcoholic beverage licenses for the period July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027 to the following. Scott Burkholz of Daubers, Robert McDonald of Mibs and Bibs, Chris and Sarah Wright of 1229, Justin Kale of Just Smoke and Barbecue, Gerald Anderson and Greg Fisher of McDugout, Landon Road.
I make a motion that we approve the non-alcoholic beverage licenses for the period of July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027 for those 5 businesses listed under agenda item number 15.
I will second.
You have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 16, discussion and possible action on approval of amusement device licenses for the period July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027. To the following: Scott Burkholz of Daubers, Robert McDonald of Mibs and Bibs, and Gerald Anderson and Greg Fisher of McDougall.
Make a motion to approve the amusement device licenses for the period of July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027 for those three businesses listed under agenda item number 16. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Five is the limit on the machines, correct? The gambling machines. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 17. Discussion and possible action on the approval of cigarette licenses for the period July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027 to the following: Narendra Patel of Land and BP and Justin Kapusta of A&J Liquor.
I make a motion to approve the cigarette licenses for the period of July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027 for those two businesses listed under agenda item number 17.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I have to read all of these into the record.
Make reference to
Any of them we
the
don't.
agenda item. I do have comment
Okay.
up to.
Discussion and possible action on the approval of operator licenses for the period July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027. For 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 applicants, pending any specific denials.
Patrick?
Yes.
Gave these all to Nate and he did background checks all in one sitting. That's why you'll notice I didn't write on the bottom. If they approved or denied them and all.
Okay.
So if you want to ask them any questions, I may do that and they'll tell you anything that they found out.
Okay. There weren't any late ads for those, right?
No.
And did you make up this new form? Nicole?
Yes.
Nice job, thank you. In the meantime, as anybody goes through these, I guess first of all, did the police department have any that they wanted to bring to our attention for possible extra consideration or scrutiny?
There is one applicant that had some recent history that would be, I think should be considered, I guess. Justin Hale with Just Smoking Barbecue. I believe my understanding was there was some conviction history that was in appeal during his last approval. But that has since been, I guess, not adjudicated any differently. So long story short, he has a conviction for OWI fourth offense, which is significant alcohol related criminal history. He has a lot of driving and alcohol related restrictions. The most there's two conditions of his probation that are, I think, something that you should consider. One is no presence on any premise whose primary business is serving alcohol. I don't believe that's his primary business.
No.
But the most important condition to consider is that he may not possess or consume alcohol. So that's, and he's on probation for, I believe, 3 years.
That conviction was in 2023, so he's
Correct.
a good 2 years into that probation.
And how does that impact him being the owner of that business who also holds the the license.
That is up to you to determine. All I know is for probation and parole considerations, you cannot possess or consume alcohol.
He has not violated probation or parole that we can see in our reports. We have no reason to deny him at this time, but we thought it right that the board knows the information and you can do with what you please.
Just due to alcohol related history, we wanted to bring that up, and it
Yep.
appeared to be a kind of a change since maybe the last application process.
Were there other ones that raised any concerns for you in particular?
No,
And Hector, you had some, I believe that.
Yes, for your reference, this is application G on, item number 18, which the lieutenant has just referred to, Justin Haley. A person who's convicted of fourth OWI can't even drive.
correct. He has a lifetime revocation.
Yeah. So, I would recommend that you, table consideration of his matter and require him to provide more information about his circumstances. And that you also look at the granting of the license to him, because that is not information that was volunteered nor asked of him. And in fairness to him, he should have the opportunity to be heard. But the legal standard that you need to follow is this. You have discretion in granting permission to people to serve alcoholic beverages. And if they're involved in some other activity that is substantially related to the purpose of the licensing, you can take that into consideration. Some communities take into account also not only the offense, but the frequency of the offenses, that the amount of time that has lapsed since the last offense, whether the individual is on probation or not, or how long ago did the person get off of probation. I believe that you would be authorized to say that a person who's convicted of a fourth offense within this time period, the last offense was about 3 years ago, may not be fit to be dispensing alcohol at such a premises. And the police department can also reach out to the probation department to find out what their attitude is and perspective is on this particular matter. Because whatever you do in this case, you really should have in mind as a reference point for other applicants who come forward. Now, I was asked whether I had any other thoughts, and I have some puzzlement about the application of Jessica Miron. And Jessica is 18D. She's got 3 OWIs. She lists the dates in I guess reverse order. It says the first one occurred in 2011, the second one occurred in 2008, and the third one occurred in the year 2006, or maybe 2000. I can't tell whether that's a 0 or a 6. I think similar consideration should be given to her application. And in that regard, I would suggest that you table that matter to give her the opportunity to bring them more information.
And in both of those cases, when you say more information, can you tell us what specifically you would expect us to have clarified or communicated from the applicants?
The circumstances of the offense. Driving home from work, at a bar. Or driving home from a wedding reception of your brother. You know, there's different.
Doesn't matter, I mean,
Yeah.
driving drunk, and you were convicted of
Yeah.
it, that's the bottom line.
With whether there was personal injury involved, just having entry OWI, that I was, in my mind. I think, these people are applying for employment. They should not be denied employment if they're otherwise qualified from the standpoint of having taken the bartender class and so forth. And obviously, the businesses need them because it's hard to get help with the kind of hours that they have to have. But at the same time, there are some standards that the village should have in mind in allowing people to be bartenders in Lansing.
May I make just two comments?
Yeah, please.
In relation to Jessica, as brought up by our attorney. Her last entry into traffic was in 2013. So as you did speak about time and that's one thing that at least we can answer now without more information. She has nothing since 2013. That was the last entry. Her dates are as not, specific as we may like. They're pretty accurate and there's no conviction. There's not even a speeding would be dropped, but there's no criminal history since 2013. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention, which again, that maybe the attorney would like to weigh in on. My understanding is if you hold the class license for a business, you don't even need a bartender's permit. You can bartend anyway. So that's something I think the board should consider when discussing Justin's. Even if you deny him a bartender's license, he can still legally serve as the holder of the license for the business.
Right.
So if that is a true consideration, if that's a real concern that you have, I think you also need to look at reviewing the business's license because that gives him
Exactly.
license to serve.
And that's what
Just
I'm
a comment.
advocating.
Okay.
Be done.
So if his conviction was in 2023 and he has applied for and received the alcoholic beverage license for his business the last 2 years, he's been there 3 years, 2 years?
He did come in and talk to Dan, I think when he got his last one, but he was also under appeal.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, finalized, as of last year's.
We also had the same conversation last year about Justin and we approved him, so.
Jessica as well is also a
Yeah.
renewal, and we did have her, and she hasn't had anything in the last year.
And just knowing Justin and considering him a friend of mine. He hasn't driven since his last DUI. He hasn't touched any alcohol that anyone can tell, and he lives with his parents, so. I mean, if,
The police department has no objections on either one of these at all. We haven't had no issues, no contacts in a negative manner for the business owner, any of the bartenders or patrons or really anything to do with that business at all. And the same way with Jessica.
Yeah, Jessica's history was quite old. Justin's is only because it seemed like it was under appeal possibly last year. So I just wanted to bring up that.
I will add this, that I don't know this 100% for fact, but I can almost guarantee you that the probation officer is well aware of the ownership of that business and that they serve alcohol there, so I have no issues with that either.
PMP can also change conditions. I arrested a bartender who had a probation condition that she can only handle alcohol while she's at work, which I thought was very Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So those things can be modified as well. So if you want him to modify that or you don't care, that's fine as well. But
At this time, no issues.
yeah, and those things can be worked out as well.
Okay, so to put this in context. With Jessica, Her first one was, she was 18 years old, the second one was 20 years old, the third one was 23 years old, roughly. You know, and now she's.
39.
40.
Yeah.
37.
So,
Oh, that's
you know,
right.
I think the concern about her is over. As far as Justin, you know, I believe that he's a good business person. He knows stands a lot to lose with you know, with any future violations, so I think and to trustee Moore's observations that you know, we approved his license last year, and so.
Nothing's changed. He's kept himself clean in the last year.
Right.
So although I greatly appreciate the guidance of our council, as always, I will forward a motion to approve the operator's licenses for the period of July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027 for the, how many did we say?
32.
32 named and individuals and entities listed under agenda item number 18.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Same.
Motion carries. Item number 19, discussion and possible action for a temporary class B for the Optimist Club of SLLB for July.
Sorry, they did not get theirs in, sorry.
Okay,
So we don't have that.
for the car show. They did not get theirs in?
No, but they have till July. Yeah, we can approve it at the July meeting for the car show in July, so.
Because it's just the,
Yeah, I just left it
In
on
effect.
there in case they did get it in and we have not seen that.
so I would be looking to have a motion to table this item until next month's meeting.
I make a motion to table item number 19 until next month.
Second.
Motion in 2 seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is tabled. Item 20, discussion and possible action on approval of resolution for CMAR report on Landon's behalf for 2025. And this is a annual thing that
Yes.
we really don't have much say in the matter anyway,
We got straight A's though.
Yeah, we did that.
right?
It's not how you answer the questions.
Right? So,
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution CMAR report on Landon's behalf for 2025.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Great job on your report card, Brenda.
Yeah.
All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Motion carries. Right, deal delivered. Item 21, discussion and possible action on approval of quote from Johnson Paving for repairs to Becker Court. Dan, I'll let you run everybody through this one.
All right. So this proposal that you have in front of you is twofold. One essentially is the turn lane from Main Street onto Becker Drive. And then the second area is for the Becker Court area, just beyond the intersection there, Becker Drive and Becker Court. There's roughly like a 200 something stretch of that road that is private, that is public road, and then beyond that it goes into private. These roads are deteriorating, they're not in good condition. I don't think there's any question about the condition of the roadways. So I think more so what is the question is funding and how are we gonna source the funding for it? The approach here that we have, as described in the first section here, is to do a mill and a partial asphalt mill and pave at partial depth. So this first box here is for the Main Street ingress to Becker Drive. Essentially, they're gonna bring up the mill machine, they would mill down the entire length of that turn lane. And then they would do an overlay of 2.5 inch depth of asphalt onto there. This pricing here is for what they call an SMA or small aggregate mix, which is designed for high volume, multi-lane highways. They're typically rated for a really long lifespan. And so it should perform very well to the volume of truck traffic that comes down there. And then the second category here is for the Becker Court interchange, slightly different mix. Both of these mixes are Wisconsin DOT mix. But essentially this is to do a mill then and the overlay of the asphalt onto there. Now I did, just for reference, have multiple conversations with Nick from Johnson Paving about some different options here. He did give me a different material mix for the turn lane, which is a 4LT, which is still a DOT mix. But it would bring the cost down roughly $3,000. For the turn lane, it would not change anything on the Becker Court. So that would make it roughly $12,270 as opposed to the $15,470 that he's showing for the asphalt mill on the Main Street ingress. And then I did also meet with PLM paving and have Tom take a look at the two same areas, work at pricing for the similar scope. And pricing from PLM came in at $23,937 collectively for the two same scope. So Johnson and Sons at $23,810 is just $127 less, or plus another $3,000 if we do that for LT mix. So that's kind of what we have and how we got to where we are. I guess the question is how do we pay for it? Because we don't have the budget for it currently.
What did we put in the budget for road repairs?
20,000, I believe.
How much?
10 or 20,000, I think was.
I know for a long time it was 15, but
We have $10,000 in the 2026 budget for road repairs. Plus 2,000 for maintenance and signs and 3,500 for maintenance, so we're at 15,000 total for 2026. And so the other consideration of what plays into that is we just had road work done on Good Hope just today for the potholes that were opened up. So that'll be
just
rough
6.
Yeah, roughly 6,000 or so, not quite half, but more than a third of our total budget.
So I can't help but ask the question. So seeing as the turn lane is a county highway, I don't suppose they'd be incentivized to participate in this.
They probably should be the ones facilitating it, but I'm not certain as to what the time frame would ever be to get them to do that repair work. And that's an excellent point, Jim. It's because it is a county highway, it's a county road.
Right. Do we even have jurisdiction over doing the work? I'm sure they're not gonna.
They would not argue.
Yeah. Sure, they would grant us permits, right of way permits to do the work. Yeah. So this came up just, I think the larger concern initially was the partial stuff on Becker Court. And then I mentioned to Dan that I know historically that ingress area has been a problem and we've made some minor repairs to that here and there to try to limp it along. It's unfortunate because I think we can all make a pretty fair assumption at why it's in such bad shape. You know, I mean, there's a couple businesses in particular back there that bring some pretty heavy equipment through there on a daily basis and over and over and over. But they are public roads, so. You know, maybe. How did the Becker the Becker Court one come up? Did somebody just reach out to you about that or?
Moss Trucking calls in a couple of times a year to complain about the potholes that are right in the intersection and rightly so, yeah. I think we've made attempts probably once or twice a year for longer than I've been on the board here of trying to put it together, and it doesn't last, especially with the cold patch.
Yeah.
The cold patch is not an effective Band-Aid for it, so.
And there's been, the last couple of years, there's been a significant increase in traffic from Rams.
Is it at least worth asking the county highway?
We can ask, and, you know, I mean. Quite honestly, you know, yes,
In that connection, I don't know, maybe you know, who is the county supervisor representing Planet? As I think that first approaching him or her and pleading our case, taking the individual out to see what we've attempted to do, given our budget, and then set up an appointment with the county highway department with that individual in tow. And we'll be seeing if the individual can reach up to the county chairman. Because this is a safety feature, this is a viable business, and it's only going to get worse.
So I agree with that approach, and I think that's something that Ben and I can do and try to bring Dan in the loop. I've emailed recently two people from the county asking how we were going to deal with this situation that happened with T-Mobile and how we were gonna recover the expenses that we incurred to have our water operator come out and do emergency repairs to the tune of almost $15,000. You know, the county was the permit holder. The county should have been, you know, enforcing traffic control issues that they were having with them. They admitted that it was a known issue. But I don't know, and I guess where I'm going, I sent that email on the 27th and I have yet to hear anything back. So this is fairly typical. Every time I've tried to reach out to the county, it's, I'm yelling into the void. But, you know, again, I think this is another issue that we should bring up to them. And I wouldn't be opposed to tabling these until next year when we can actually budget for them. You know, I don't think anybody's gonna disappear into any of the holes over there. Now, unless we feel that waiting another year is going to cause a need for a more expensive repair.
I don't, my perspective is the damage is done, to the roadways. I guess the liability or exposure would be if, you know, if somebody has a vehicular damage done because of a pothole or something like that.
Well, I mean, heavy equipment and semi trucks driving in there should be.
They're far worse conditions once they
should
get
be
beyond
fine.
their public road.
Yeah, right.
Chief has a comment.
Yes, sir.
Just an observation since I started here, I've watched those potholes get bigger and bigger and deeper. I will say that Rams has filled them in at least 3 times with their own gravel, just to keep them so that they can drive on them, which in turn helps Moss Trucking as well. But the gravel it does get out on the roadway, gets all over, it causes, I mean, you got heavy trucks trying to stop there and maneuver. It does cause, I've seen the brakes lock up on the gravel a few times, so it is a safety concern of mine for truck accidents or, you know, heavy equipment type of things, but I have watched those holes get bigger. and chunks of, especially during the winter, after winter, chunks of blacktop breaking off as the holes get bigger, so.
Are you talking on the ingress area or on Becker Court?
On Becker Court, the ingress area, in all honesty, I haven't really noticed that much of an issue, but
They did
not
add
compared,
it up.
yeah, not compared to the two bigger potholes on Becker Court.
Would there be any consideration just to doing Becker Court for now? And then seeing what,
seeing what we can get from the county.
right,
I think that's a good idea,
Yeah.
but I guess from my perspective is, you know, from a budgetary standpoint, we're going over our budget. Which understandably, I mean, there's items that come up and there's things that we need to take care of. So
And
that's,
excuse my ignorance on this, but is there any middle ground? Like, is there any? I mean, I completely agree with you. The correct way to deal with it is to mill and prep and bond and put a new layer on. Is there any stopgap measure somewhere between dumping gravel in it and doing a full mill? Is there anything we can do to give us another year while still trying to avoid the liability of people damaging vehicles that need to use a public roadway?
you could pretty much do like a cold patch, but with hot mix that you could put in there. It probably would not withstand snow plowing. So it would likely get us through this year, but then we would have to address it again next year. And it's probably $1,500 to $2,000. And so,
Yeah, at that point, you're almost better off just doing that.
Agreed, but the budget, it's always the same thing. Like now you guys see, right? Like there's always more need than there's budget for it. And
Yeah, I will say we have gone several years with, albeit a fairly small number in the budget where we haven't actually done any road repairs. We were fortunate enough to, as part of the water expansion project, get a bunch of roads resurfaced as part of that.
Right.
You know, but there will be ongoing maintenance that needs to get done to even some of those surfaces, even as new as they are. Some crack sealing and stuff like that. There's some varying opinions between, you know, Mr. Newman and the engineer as to when and how often that stuff should get done, but it exists, it's out there, and if we take care of the roads more, they'll last longer. And the repairs will be less expensive.
so if I could ask if, so we don't have a budget for it, so if we needed to repair this or really make any repairs, we'd be looking at a borrowing situation. Would it be wise for us to maybe identify all projects in the village that are approaching this level of repair? And then pull together a more comprehensive plan that says we have identified the following 4 areas. And we would like to send that out for competitive bid and maybe leverage it as a larger project to see if we can maybe get better pricing. I mean, I know it sounds like throwing good money after bad, but my thought process is this: if we've got a lot of deferred maintenance, which in the 4 years that I've been around, we really haven't done even our parking lot to the level that we should have done it. But maybe if we do have to go to the point where we have to borrow $20,000 to fill out Becker Court, maybe we should borrow 40,000 and get the other areas that are also nagging us taken care of. Just a thought.
I would disagree.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you don't have money, why buy more? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. If I lose my job, I buy a more expensive car.
Then we never fix anything, and then we failed. We failed as a board to do the basic thing, which is government's job, which is to provide infrastructure for the community. I'm trying to do what our job is, which is to provide infrastructure for the community. While still finding a way to do it.
Yeah.
do it once.
We have to be good stewards with it without bankrupting the citizens that live here though too.
Well, I wasn't suggesting bankrupting anyone, I was suggesting taking a loan.
Yeah, so it's the same discussion that we have at budget time every year, and I think your idea is great, and if we lived in an ideal world, we would be able to do that. Unfortunately, with projects like this, what typically will happen is exactly what happened over on Good Hope that we just spent $6,000 on, and that is shit comes up. You know what I mean? It happens. And so then we have to deal with it. That was non-negotiable, right? That one those had to get fixed. Period. These aren't to that level yet, but we're just going to continue each year to get under more and more pressure. Now, we could go over the budgeted amount a little bit and use some of our reserve as we've done in years past. But again, that's a finite pool of money. And if we keep tapping into that every single year, it'll be gone eventually. And then the option is, to your point, borrowing. And, you know, I still think that with the levy limit situation in the state, we are going to continue to have a harder and harder time balancing the budget. That's just a fact with the rising cost of everything, but that's for another day.
Well, here too, like Colleen said, if you take and you get your list of projects, you're paying a mobilization fee to bring them over. If you can get a group of them, you're getting hit once on a mobilization fee. And at that time, when you have your list, then you're in a little better position of bargaining with them. But how long do we want to keep kicking the can down the road is the other part.
You know, to that point, did you discuss it all with Benton? Did you give them an opportunity to bid on it? They're gonna be mobilizing asphalt to the park in a week or two.
I can certainly reach out to Vinton, and discuss an opportunity with them. Vinton does not self-perform the asphalt work, they subcontract it to Stark.
Oh, Stark.
Yeah, so,
Oh.
to that point, I can also contact Stark. To talk about having them do this work while they're in the area. There's should be putting down the asphalt for that bike path. Next week. But the milling rig is what you would have your mobilization cost on.
Yeah,
And that's not what's coming out for the bike path. They're also not bringing out a mill when they do body lane either. So, but it did cross my mind to discuss the opportunity with them.
So let's just say we parse this out and just do Becker Court. I do see at the very bottom of page 1, there's an asterisk to be completed with Main Street and Becker Drive. Work and same mobilization. So would that impact the potential cost of Becker Court?
It would, I don't know what the extent would be, but I can find out.
Because I really do think that turn lane is county responsibility.
Yes.
Why can't we
Yes,
just?
This is a very different approach, but if in fact we believe as laymen that the businesses that are responsible for the condition that we have and the ones that would benefit the most, what about the possibility of going to them after we talk to the county, assuming for the moment the county is not going to do anything other than say they also have budget considerations, going to these businesses and saying to them, would you be willing to accept a special charge imposed by the village to participate in the offsetting of the costs with the village making a contribution here? to benefit everyone, because the county is step to our needs. Our hands are tied unless the county does something, because this is really a county road.
So basically like a special assessment.
Yeah. Oh, special charge,
Mhm.
and they would have to agree and would be probably deductible as a business expense for them.
And do you need unanimous participation from all of the businesses on that roadway, or can it be selective?
Well, should be proportionate and rational. Because what you're really doing is you're fixing an area that is kind of no man's land, the county. You know,
Well, part of it, yeah.
Did you consult with Ben or Strand at all on that road, condition, just in case he knows of any, I don't know, grants, other work? I don't know, no. Just wondering if Ben had anything to say about it.
Yeah, he didn't make any comments on here about it, and I don't know that he would be aware of any, I mean, this would be such a small thing, it would cost more to do a tap grant or a
Yeah.
DOT grant application than to just do the repairs. So,
Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna throw out some ideas, even though Hector kind of took it from me. But the innovation grant first still has money left on the table. We could look into that because it does cover that repair, just for Becker though, not for, until you find out what the county highway portion is gonna be. Or could we ask Rams or Mike at HM Grant if maybe they would just willingly donate their time and effort to repair the roof?
I don't
Seeing as
think
how
HM Brent does
Rams goes back there all the
does
time.
paving, but yeah.
yeah, I think similarly, to your point, I think we could ask, Rams and Jack Moss, they seem to be probably the largest users, especially of the Becker Court area that's getting repaired. They're almost the sole users of that portion of the road. The innovation grant, I don't think is a candidate because the innovation grant, what's that? Yeah, that has to be, that's more for like intermunicipal, new intermunicipal agreements that, are put in place to realize certain efficiencies of services. Not infrastructure repairs.
Okay.
A good example would be the recent combination of the West Allis Fire Department with the Wauwatosa Fire Department. Long-term would be some savings because we already have some costs associated with the permanent assets, the building, the trucks which last.
And we can't even apply for it for things like our fire contract with Menominee Falls because it's not a new agreement. It's already in place. So the whole premise of that thing is, frankly, in my opinion, an absolute joke. Right idea, way too late. It's everybody that needs that money already has stuff in place. They already have agreements in place for the most part. Like us. So.
So would it make more sense to table the entire thing until we have more discussions with the county? Or would it be advantageous to do a partial approval for Becker Court to move forward with that section of it? Exceeding our budget and then using reserves to cover the balance?
I think we need to find out what the total cost would be to do that as a separate piece. Because you're gonna be bringing in dump trucks for millings. And it's permit load to get the grinder around. Works is on 124th Street, just outside of Buck.
I'm gonna make a motion myself here that we table this item. Until we have an opportunity to explore some further options and do some more due diligence. and potentially have some discussions with not only the county, but the heavy users of at least the Becker Court portion of this road.
I will second.
Motion and seconded. Do we have any other discussion?
What about the Vinton option?
That would be part of it. That would be, you know, we can talk to them about it. Now, the downside to that is if they are out here in a couple weeks,
Who's in the meeting?
they won't have the authority
Right.
to do it. But to Dan's point, they're not gonna be bringing a milling machine out here anyway for that. They're gonna have asphalt in the area. They're gonna have a very small roller because it's only an 8-foot wide path. So they may not even have the rolling equipment that they would want to have for a project like this. So,
I'll still talk to them though.
yeah, I mean, we can throw it out there, and if there's a significant opportunity, we can always, if Dan reaches out to me and says, hey, we've got an opportunity here, I'll call a special meeting.
It's fair.
Any other discussion?
Well, one thing too, Kenway has several loads a day coming in. Typically, there's one truck camped out because there's been an issue with
Yeah,
at Jack Moss's. And most of Moss's trucks come in and out empty. He tries to do that because of the, he doesn't want to tear that up.
right, right. What do one of those trucks weigh? Just the cab?
But, all you're
Peterbilt.
for 80,000 on a tractor trailer, empty. Cause he's got all light Pete's Jack's trucks are probably between 22 and 30,000. 32,000 per tractor and trailer.
Okay. All right, that's still pretty heavy.
Well, you can bring in a 30-yard dumpster and be pulling 110, 120,000. You're not legal.
Right. Okay, so any other comments? Okay, so we have a motion and a second to table, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 22, discussion and possible action on pay application 6 for Jay Miller. Mr. Wood's comments on this, Strand has reviewed and recommends payment as requested. Project update, full conversion to the new controls was delayed at the request of the operator for 2 reasons: until a water main leak can be found and repaired, which it just recently was, like literally. And communication failure alarms. He further addressed the integrator Strand and Verizon are participating in a meeting to further troubleshoot the issue. Project completion will likely be delayed into July. So there's been a significant amount, and I think, Dan, you've been in on the email chain, all this stuff. There's just been an inordinate amount of
Issues.
inability for everybody to get synchronized and working together to put these final pieces together, so, but, let's retain an amount to, so the request is for, $62,295.22. And, as Ben mentioned, they've reviewed the numbers and, concur with everything.
And it looks like that brings them to 85% of the contract value.
So I would entertain a motion to authorize me to execute, and issue payment for pay application 6 for Jay Miller.
All right, I'll make a motion that we authorize President Yates to execute the pay application number 6 for J Miller in the amount of $62,295.22.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 23, discussion of possible action on the payment of the bills.
I will make a motion that we pay the bills as they were presented by the village clerk.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to pay the bills as presented. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 24, engineers report. Landscape reviews, OTI has presented a revised scope and fee to commence landscape reviews of newer developments in the village. OTI awaits a direction from the village. If they can proceed, they intend to review the condition of current plantings relative to landscape plans for the recent developments, write a summary report, and identify deficiencies. So some of you were not here when this was initially brought up, but due to some of the concerns in the community about the landscaping at Rock Point Village, we had consulted with the company to come in and come out and do field verify and do a survey of the existing plantings versus the planned plantings. We had contemplated at the time, due to some other concerns that had been brought up in different times for Whispering Ridge condominiums, that really what we should do is have this done for all the new developments in the village. To simply go back through, look at the approved landscape plans, validate, check, double check, confirm that the things that were supposed to be planted were planted, things that weren't, or extra stuff is fine usually, but look at the condition of things and then provide the village with a report so that we could, consider any deficiencies, or at least have a validation of that the work was done as approved. I had actually, if I'm not mistaken, already told the company that they could proceed with these additional items. This is a TID eligible expense. The proposed additional cost was $5,400 to, let's see. Looks like he was gonna do some additional markups, including in Rock Point Village as well. Overstone condominiums, 3 phases, Whispering Ridge Estates, phases 1 and 2, Whispering Ridge Estates North. Whispering Ridge condominium markup will be provided as a PDF with comments and notes, and then the Stonewood Trail, the new condominiums over here. So barring any strongly worded objections, I had already kind of authorized them to just complete this work as a TID eligible expense.
Can I interject either now or at
Yeah.
So if they go to one of these communities and make a list of deficiencies, well then who bears the burden to bring it to correction? Is it the developers that didn't do it? Or is it now gonna be the residents homeowners association of those communities? Because the developers are probably long gone by now.
Right. So I think council is probably going to tell you that that would fall on the association to remedy the situation.
Well, it all depends on whether the developer still exists. For example, Cornerstone, they're still in business. And they may be concerned about their reputation. And in that regard, we can talk to both parties, first going to the developer and saying, until now, we haven't had a device, the village has not come up with a device to basically assess, and we need you to complete your part of the bargain, the developer's agreement. The developer's agreement has incorporated the landscape plans. And here's proof that somebody through oversight perhaps, didn't put in X number of trees, whatever. Or if you put them in, they died. In which case, well, the tree guarantee might kick in. We do have a short acceptance period for infrastructure that is dedicated to the village, may have passed. But I think we should try to work it out for the benefit of those associations, and if it fails, we can go to them and maybe they can put some pressure on their development.
You mentioned Cornerstone.
You meant Overstone. Overstone, excuse me.
Oh, okay. That clarifies it, thank you.
Yeah.
Because Cornerstone, development is a development.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, for example, I had sent Ryan Knopf, who I assumed was still like the superintendent for Sewall, a photograph of a bunch of their plantings out here in the first area that they built in Stonewood, and a bunch of those things are clearly dead. He doesn't actually work for them anymore, so, but he did forward my message along to Arthur, Kevin, or somebody. So, but that's a newer development. They're still there. There's, we have a lot more leverage in that situation because there's still going to be letters of credit and things of that nature in place. But yeah, it gets a lot more difficult when there's concerns about, hey, there was supposed to be 3 trees over here in Whispering Ridge and they died and they're gone and you guys never replaced them. Now we get into the situation of, is the village going to get involved in a dispute between 2 private property owners? Right? I don't know that anything necessarily will come of that, but at least we have the records of what's supposed to be there in the event. Maybe.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, why bother if we don't have a mechanism to make any changes? I think in the example of the wall and Stone Ridge, that makes perfect sense. They're still there. They probably haven't done all their final occupancies yet. We can hold them accountable through their final retention and their closeout documents and their final C of Os until they get it brought up. Now, when you look at like Overstone or Rock Point or Whispering Ridge, which the developers are not on site anymore, they've closed out warranties.
Is still owned by City Hall.
So
apartment complex, so that's different.
Right, but to the point, Dan's point is that we no longer hold any real leverage there, right? It's been granted their occupancy. Well, actually, come to think of it, I think they're still owed some money from those occupancy incentives.
So, well, at Rock Point.
I think they're still owed. I don't know. I bet you they are.
can we hold their TID payouts? Can we hold the TID payouts to Overstone and Rock Point, Whispering Ridge? And because they're still receiving tax dollars.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be probably not, because you have an MRO, which is the governing document that binds us to making those payments based on the creation of value at a certain percentage. Right?
That's true, but at the same time, we can utilize that to get their attention.
So do we want to backtrack on doing these? Because there's questionable value to the village specifically?
Well, if we don't enforce what the original agreement was, why even try and do anything? I think it needs to be done. I think these developers need to be held accountable.
Well, look at how long Whispering Ridge has been, closed or finished or whatever, and was it you, Don, that was going after Anna, about the dead tree along? I forget who it was, somebody was like really after him to get that tree replaced.
That was behind Brad Cade's house where they cut the trees down,
Right,
and they never replaced them.
That was a.
but they have a homeowners association and everybody pays a certain amount per month to be part of the homeowners association, and if a tree dies, you replant it, right? I mean, isn't that the whole purpose of the homeowners association?
So it is, but I think it would be naive to think that they don't face the same budgetary concerns that we do as a village. So I can assure you they do.
Right.
So I was the treasurer of that association. Now, what happened is that was just a classic pissing match. That was Anna complaining about him not screening, and then they go and cut down trees, and so he
Yeah, okay.
goes back, you're not screening either. Again, here's the village in the middle,
So what is the cost of this multi,
$5,400.
and those advocate here, that it's short of the condition of landscape, what is the village stand to gain for the $5,400?
I would
Just aesthetics?
no, I guess I would argue,
And I shouldn't say just,
Yeah.
because aesthetics are important, but I'm just.
right. I think there's the appearance and perception of accountability and standards. I think those are important. Now, how much value do they really bring? I don't know, that's probably subjective. I think
This is only for neighborhoods, it's not looking at HM Brandt not putting up the gate that they promised to.
these are for developer agreement type projects, neighborhoods.
Which I
Now,
think are more annoying than other violations of beautification in our.
right. So, the other piece of value, I suppose, would be that, the village then at least has a documented record of what was agreed to and what was existing at a certain point. So it's just a piece of the record, if you will. Does it bring that much value to us? To use, spend $5,400 of TID money on? That again is subjective, I think. I mean, I understand Dan's point that there's questionable value, right? If there's no enforcement mechanism or trigger, I think it at least gives us a factual basis that we can at least use implied leverage, to Hector's point.
I think it would be effective for certain communities, but I wouldn't, I don't feel that way about every community that's on the list. Just because I know that some of those developers don't legally exist anymore. Like Whispering Ridge, the home builders that built up the actual homes in there weren't the developer, they created a separate LLC to do the development. And that LLC doesn't exist anymore. So they create a fake company essentially to be the developer, sign the agreements, and then they close that company. So from a legal mechanism, we're gonna go back against a company, an LLC that doesn't exist. And so I think, I mean, if you could pull a couple of those off, that are gonna be kind of difficult or non-existent. But I think the ones that are still active, I think there's value to that.
Yeah, and I will point out that I think there's future value to, again, setting a precedent here and a standard, and a accountability mechanism, because at some point, hopefully in the nearer future, there will be development going on the Coley farm as well. So, you know, that would be another instance where, something along these lines of, here's our prescribed process. We're gonna hold you to the same standard that we held everybody else to. I think that's a good practice.
Well, is there any legal way? If there is an ongoing business. That if they fail to live up to their developers agreement, and this might be spending. Bad money after good, to go after them for the violation of their developers agreement. I mean, that would cost us to have Hector go after them, but again, that's setting precedents. Which has been ignored for a long time.
Okay, so just to bring this back full circle. This is the engineer's report.
Yep.
It's not an action item, you know, so, you stated that unless there's a significant objection, we're gonna proceed. So that's where it stands.
That was my intent, yeah.
That's where it stands.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, the other part of his report was the PSC annual report. Strand is compiling the data to respond to Baker Tilly so that the report can be submitted. The report was due May 1st and an extension to June 1st was granted. Ben is working on compiling the data for Baker Tilly this week. Ben is on Wendy's naughty list and has been for some time. That's the translation. Jake's Park Path, the original plan was to pave this week, but there's a lot of rain in the forecast. We're keeping in touch with the contractor daily. Trustee Batiste is on top of that. Bonnie Lane reconstruction work is planned to start late summer. Strand will lead public outreach to that neighborhood as the construction gets closer to discuss individual property impacts, access plan, etc. And Trustee Batiste covered that earlier in his report as well. I think that was it from the engineer. There will be some further coordination along with those residents and outreach and stuff like that, just to talk about some culvert issues with some specific properties and things of that nature, so. Strand will have boots on the ground, and we've already in some of the pre-construction meetings discussed a plan and what we expected to get addressed with them, so they're well versed. Item number 25, attorney's report.
I really don't have much of a report beyond my comments. However, I wish to acknowledge the fact that I was noted as reporting last month in item 23 that I still have a fax, and that my fax number is stated. So if any of you have any interest in testing it, feel free to do so. That ends my report.
Item number 26, President's report. I will confirm that after that report last month, I did confirm that I do still have a fax number. It's 262-253-0797, and it does operate still, even though I canceled it. That is the extent of my report.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries for adjourned.
That was. I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight.
George, you still awake?
Why don't you just put a load limit sign on the back of the court?
And pull them all over.
Yeah.
Frankly, I was a little surprised, because I.
Be a busy, busy.
Another question I have is,